Hello, welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn different operators that are available in Java. There is a slight difference in this video compared to the other ones we have gone through already. For this, I already have the class created. The reason I did this is because there is a fair amount of typing required to get through all the operators, and I didn't want to spend time waiting on typing all these things. Instead, I would rather go through these line by line, explain it to you what they are, so that we can focus on the understanding part and not the typing, right? But I will go through very slowly, line by line, so you can actually understand what's going on and also maybe type it up on the side as you go through this video. I've created a new class operators inside the package that we already have and a main method within that class. We have two integers defined, num1 which is initialized to 5 and num2 which is initialized to 2. The operations or expressions that we have in this class are done on integers, but all of them can be done on floating points as well. The first four or five we're going to go through are normal arithmetic operations as in addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. The final one is an operator that lets you find a remainder when you do the division. So let's go through them one by one. First one, I'm creating a new variable add, which is also an integer, and I'm using the plus operator, which is the addition operator, to add the two numbers num1 and num2 and assign the result to add variable. And then I'm printing it. Let's run it now and see the output, and then we'll just reference the output as we go through each of the statements. So first one, add is 7. 5 plus 2 is 7. So 7 got stored in add variable, and that's what got displayed. So the next one we have is a subtraction, which is the minus sign. We have num1 minus num2 stored into a sub variable, right? And we're displaying the sub variable. 5 minus 2 is 3, and we got that displayed. The next one is multiplication. We use a star sign, or as many people call it, asterisk symbol, which is used to represent multiplication. So we are multiplying number 1 and number 2 and storing into a variable called mul. So 5 into 2 is 10, so mul is 10. The next one is a division operator. So this one finds the quotient, not the remainder, but the quotient, right? So we do the slash for it. We have a num1 slash num2. So 5 divided by 2, the quotient is 2. So 2 gets stored in div variable, and we're trying to display that variable here. So that's div is 2. Next one is called the modulus operator or the remainder operator. This one is similar to the one that we just saw, but the result of that operation would be the remainder, not the quotient. So 5 divided by 2, we got the quotient here, which is 2, but the remainder would be 1. So mod variable is initialized to number 1, and that's what's displayed here, mod equals 1. So these are the basic operators that are in Java. As we scroll down, we have an operator called increment operator. So if you have a variable and you just want to increase it by value 1, just by 1, you can quickly use the increment operator instead of saying, for example, if num3 is 10, if you want to increase it by 1, one way is to do it as num3 equals num3 plus 1, right? Instead of being that much verbose, you can use the increment operator and just say num3 plus plus. So num3 is 10, we did a num3 plus plus, and we're displaying it here, num3, which is 11. So plus plus increases the value by 1. So the increment operator has has some variety. That is a plus plus that you can add in front of the variable. So here we did num3 plus plus, but here we have plus plus num3, right? Num3 we already know was 10 plus 1, 11, and now we are doing another plus plus num3, which makes it 12. So the result of this statement is 12. Num3 equals 12. When you look at just num3 plus plus or plus plus num3, you can't really tell the difference on what's going on, which is why I have further statements here. There is a subtle difference between what happens when you put the plus plus as a suffix and a prefix. So here we do the same increment operator, but within an expression, right? So we have num4, which is initialized to 5, and we are creating a num5, and we are saying 2 into num4 plus plus, right? So num4 is 5, 5 plus plus is 6, and then 2 into 6 is 12, right? But we have 10. How come? That's because if you have a variable that it uses the increment operator as a suffix, that increment is done after the expression is completed, right? So in this one, we had 2 into 5, 10 that got stored in num5, and then num4 was incremented. That's why we have 10, right? This is where the difference between the plus plus prefix and suffix come in, because we have similar statements here. We have a num6 assigned to 5 and num7 2 into plus plus num6. In this case, plus plus happens first before the expression executes, right? So 5 plus plus becomes 6, 2 into 6, 12. So that's the subtle difference between where the plus plus is added. If you want the increment to happen before the value is used in the expression, you have to put the plus plus before the variable. If not, you would put it after the variable. And just like increment, there is also a decrement operator, which is what I added as a comment here instead of adding more statements into this class. But num3 minus minus would reduce the value by 1. Minus minus num3 is also the same thing, but the difference we talked about where the plus plus is added here is also applicable to minus minus. Finally, we have something called a compound operator. This is more of a convenience thing. Let's say we have a num8 initialized to 8, right? And we want to multiply that value by 10, but we want to store that result in num8, right? So normally what we would do, I'm going to add a line here, but I'm going to comment it out so it's easy to follow. So we would do num8 equals num8 into 10, right? Instead of doing this, there is a compound assignment operation where you can say num8 star equals 10, which means we're telling Java, hey, multiply num8 by 10 and assign the result into num8 itself, which is why you see the result here as 80 num8 got multiplied by 10 and the result was stored in num8, and that's what got displayed here. And just like we saw with the increment and decrement, the compound assignment operation can be done not just for multiplication, but for addition, subtraction, division, and the modulus operator as well. Before we finalize or finish this video, I wanted to talk about the importance of comments again that we talked in an earlier video. Comments really help understand what the program's doing, right? By adding these comments, you can clearly say what that block is doing instead of having to look into the code to actually see what's written and understanding. And same way, if you come down here, all these comments help understand what the programmer is intending to do in the program, which is why adding comments to the programs is very important. Even if you do this program and look at it later, adding these comments will really help you understand the program quicker than having to go into the code and kind of try to understand what's being done. I would really recommend you to try these operations. I'm going to leave these out as exercise. You can create this class as it is, but then you can create new variables and try the decrement operator, which doesn't have an example here, and also all these other compound assignment operator, just to get an understanding of how these operations work, because when you do much more programming later, these operations would be used very frequently. So it's very important to get a good understanding of when to use the operations and how to use the operations. That will really help you. Thanks a lot. See you in the next video.